So on my deathbed, I'm figuring how to be flyer. I'm talking above heaven. We're talking about Nevins, we beating a dead horse, and a nigga loves sledding. I'm a 80s baby with a 60s mind state. Thank you for the
Yay! Hello, friends. Okay, you can go ahead and wave at everyone and say hi. Friends, yeah, I'm so excited about that. I, like, as soon as you told me, you can do as many, yeah. You're twitching right when you include lots of digits. That's how it works. Yes. You can't hear him? You shut up. Oh my god. Okay, hold on. Hold, friends. This is my own fucking... I gotta switch the scenes. We even tested this earlier. It's not your fault, no. Remember I told you audio is like the thing that is the worst? Son of a... That's unbelievable.
Check.
There we go. I didn't even see your voice registering on the fucking thing, so that was my bad.
Audio is... And the audio is a guy pulling his hair out.
Yes. Yeah, that particular emote is called Not Like This. So, you know...
You know the emoji names? The emote names?
Yeah, so it's really weird because, like, okay, we're going to just jump right into this. You are welcome at any point to, like, read any of the chat messages that people drop and, like, comment on them because normally the live podcast recordings, it's just us talking, but I want you to, like, get the feel for this.
Sure. Yeah,
So,
I'm allowed to read.
Yes, you are allowed to read. Every emote has its own name and like there's a suffix for the streamer or a prefix for the streamer. So like all of my emotes, if you look in the chat window where you see all the text going, you should see a little smiley face to the right. Like if you wanted to type in my chat.
Yeah.
So if you click on that little smiley face,
frequently used,
that's going to show all of the different emotes, and any channel that you're in should be listed like right underneath that. So it'll say SheSnaps, and then it'll list all these different little emotes.
I see. I'm not logged into a thing right now.
Yeah, that's fine. I think it should still show for you, right?
Yeah. It shows your frequently used. These are solid frequent things. Yeah.
For someone who's never been on Twitch. Yeah. So like
this is my very first time on Twitch. I'm learning about I'm learning so much right now.
So emotes are kind of like a big part of the culture on Twitch, which is really funny and weird because like any affiliated or partnered broadcaster gets the opportunity to create their own channel specific emotes. So all of my emotes, you'd have to type in the word snaps followed by the emote name. Like there's snaps K, there's snaps toke, there's snaps OMG. So they have like sort of a meaning that is spelled out in the actual, like as you write it, and then you actually see the emote itself. So like if you are subbed to a broadcaster, you can use their emotes anywhere on Twitch. And if you're not, then you can only use those global emotes from Twitch or any other streamer that you're subbed to.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been on Twitch? How long have you been doing this?
This is like a little over 5 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long has Twitch existed? I thought because I took like a 2.5 year break from social media, or no, longer than that. I went from the moment Trump took office, I quit all of social media and until quarantine, and then I started again. And I didn't know of Twitch until after recently, and so this is all new. But I didn't know that. So you've been on it for 5 years?
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to build? Like, how many people are in here right now?
Right now, so normally for me, it's I'm usually somewhere around like 100 concurrent viewers, somewhere in that range. Sometimes like 150, sometimes less. But because I
Yeah.
don't stream Friday evenings consistently, we might have 50 people show up. We might have more. Usually it takes around like the first hour or so of anyone's stream for everyone to kind of trickle in. So you'll see the view count slowly grow over time as they're like, wait, Snaps is on? What the fuck? She's not usually on now.
I see. Interesting.
Yeah, so you see all the people in chat that are kind of like explaining where Twitch came about. It was Justin TV initially. And then now it's Twitch and Amazon owns it, and it's a very interesting platform.
How's Justin doing these days? Is he set?
I don't know.
He loaded?
I don't know. I hope so.
Someone should check in on Justin.
Maybe Justin and Tom from MySpace can like have a conversation and like throw up some thumbs up and stuff.
Oh my goodness. I'm trying to keep up with all this. There's fun things. Someone said something about how we came up with this with our brains, Radium Skull, and they were very excited about it's a solid point.
Yeah.
All right, so there's chats going on along the side, and then what else? So it's mostly a video game streaming thing.
Not anymore.
That was originally what it was, though, right?
Well, like I guess when Justin TV started, he was just kind of like videoing, like filming himself doing everything. And then it became very gaming focused. And then as Twitch kind of evolved.
People were just like, hey, have you guys been watching this guy, Justin?
Yeah. From what I understand,
Like,
that's a lot of what it was. Exactly. It's crazy, though.
You can just watch him trimming his beard. And
yes.
And then you comment along, and sometimes we have laughs. And that's what and from humble beginnings came this new empire.
Yeah.
What about are there must be, it seems like there's a lot of comics on here now, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference between like this and just doing like YouTube live or something?
I guess really the difference is platform specific. Like it's kind of a personal preference at this point. Like live streaming is the future. Some people are digging live streaming on Facebook, which like, no, thank you. Some people still really like being on Twitch, and some people want to be on YouTube. Why do you say no thank you to
Facebook? Why is Facebook live streaming just because your grandparents and stuff are on there?
Yeah. I don't have interest in Facebook. I got off of that.
And then like people from high school and stuff like that. Is that what it? Oh man, I love that. I like that. Facebook is so weird like that. I have I have a science podcast called Here We Are for listeners. There we go. I talk with scientists, and since COVID has happened, all of a sudden everyone's just like, I'm gonna read an article about science, and now I know science. And so there's all of these. Now there's all these scientists that like. And now all these scientists are like having to bicker with their like high school people they went to high school with about like it's a hoax. It's like I've been studying immunology for 20 years.
Oh my god. That's what's like the most scary about, I think, like Facebook especially, is like you have this knowledge of these people who you might have grown up with, and they may have known you when you were like a total fucking idiot, you know? So it's like, do I really want to engage in this and have them be thinking of me as the person I once was? Like, I think I'll just leave. How
old do you share your age?
Yeah, I'm 34.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to. I just went to. Did you go to any of your like high school reunions or anything?
No, I was in a bad relationship. I wasn't allowed to go. Yeah, that's.
What are you?
That is the reaction everyone should have. It's so stupid.
No, wait a second. First off, either that's a really bad relationship and like he wasn't letting, or I'm not convinced it's a bad relationship if someone's like, listen, I'm not gonna let you go to your high school reunion.
You don't even like these people. Just stay home.
For your own benefit. This was just like an all-around controlling person that did.
Yeah. Like he went through my journal.
Very sorry
He
for
like
that. Oh
yeah, really bad stuff. I couldn't have passwords on any of my stuff. I got accused of cheating like every other day. It was a mess.
Did you ever cheat?
No, and that was that was the most upsetting. There were things very early on in the
know.
relationship where I could see it like, oh, that was so inappropriate, like that was just dumb. But no, I never actually like cheated on him, but he refused to believe it.
That's the worst when you get in trouble for cheating and you don't get any of those sweet cheating orgasms.
Yeah, I got none spare dick and lots of
No
shit for
spare
all the
dick.
potential, you know?
It is. I've been in that situation.
Where you also weren't getting any
as
spare
well.
dick.
Yeah. I had a girl. You know what? The most attractive woman I ever dated in my life was also the most jealous, like crazy concerned about cheating person ever, and she was a fucking lunatic. Actually, I was about to say her name because she actually probably wouldn't even care that I was saying this. Anyway, I used to have a podcast called the Double Date Podcast. It was her and I and another couple each week, and we used to fight like crazy. But now do I want to talk about high school reunions, or do I want
We
to
got
talk about...
time, right? Just pick one.
All right. Well, I went to my 20-year high school reunion, and that was one of the most bizarre, like mind fucks of my life. But now COVID, everyone's getting together with everyone's going through their phone and going, I better reconnect with everyone that I've ever connected with. Have you done that thing yet?
No.
Have you no?
Thank God.
Do you have... What was your high school experience like? Was it...
I barely went. Like I had a good time in high school, which is why I don't know anything now because I'm so incredibly ignorant. And friends, I'm muting and silencing all of the alerts on here. So anyone who subs or anything, like I apologize for not calling that out, but I want to make sure I can keep this recording clean. Like I was still friends with some of them, but we just all like very much grew apart. And part of it was because of that relationship I was in for so long. Like they got used to not being able to be my friend without my ex being very aggressive towards them. Like the type of shit where the first time he would meet someone, I would introduce him to like an old friend. And if it was a guy, his goal was to do that, shake their hand as hard as they can. He was one of those guys, like, I've got to establish dominance through a handshake. Like, it was so dumb.
Yeah, that is the worst. Just immediate, let's do push-up. You and me push-up contest right now, buddy. I was just about to... So yesterday, I emailed my, like... I had this one pack of high school friends of like... I had a bunch of different friend groups, but my closest one that was in my grade was like... There's like 10 of us. And I just emailed them all yesterday, like, hello, friends and former friends. Let's get together. And I am curious because it is such a... It's such an interesting time for reflection and shit. But anyhow, all of this is to say we shouldn't be on Facebook Live. So so you're canceling that off for me.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out what to dedicate my life to. So just to give the viewers, listeners some context. I've been a stand-up comedian for 16 years. I've been full-time on the road for 14 years. Meaning like at least 2, usually 3, sometimes 4 weekends a month, flying, doing a club. And then I started doing indie shows 5 years ago where I was doing like one-offs. So for example, in 2019, I did about 100 different stops. and I have never been that much of a fan of social media. My agents and managers, like way back in the day, they were like, "You gotta get on the Facebook and the Twitter. It'll change your life." And like they bullied me into it. All I did was write a bunch of jokes that alienated everybody. I'm not terribly likable on social media. I I don't think it's benefited my career that much. And so like a few years ago, I was just like, I'm done with it. I'll just like pay to sell pay for some like Facebook ads or Instagram ads or whatever for when I'm coming through Tulsa or something. A thing pops up and says Shane Mauss is bringing a show, Stand Up Science or whatever, through your area, and then I don't have to deal with it. But then COVID happened. Boom, no more live touring. And I had never even used Instagram until COVID. I had an account but never used it. And I started on that, and I was like, oh, I actually kind of enjoy this.
Your Instagram is popping, from what I was seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't put tons into it, but it's growing, and I've been enjoying it. I added video to my podcast, so I started a YouTube. I didn't even have a YouTube channel until quarantine. That has been unsuccessful so far. I haven't figured out algorithms and this and that. And
YouTube is a thing.
Yeah, and then I started. I had a Patreon just kind of sitting there, just for listeners to donate, and didn't do anything. And I started doing things with it since quarantine. And then about 2 months ago, I added Discord, and I've been doing that some, and I've enjoyed it. I don't attend to it every day, and some days I'm on there quite a bit, but I've enjoyed it. And so when I had a dialogue with you on Twitter about Twitch, you made a compelling argument. One of my best friends, who isn't on any other social media platforms, always talks about Twitch. And he's a huge comedy fan and stuff too, and he's always telling me to get on here. And so you just reached me at just like, it was just the right time for me to be like, okay, what's this Twitch thing about? So that's just so everyone, a little context into what my deal is and why I'm sure I sound like an incredible buffoon noob right now.
Definitely not a buffoon. A little noobish, but we all got to start somewhere, right? And this is like such an interesting place because like you were pointing out like the emote with the dude with his hands in his hair. And one of the funny things about
that's
like,
been my favorite emote so far, by the way.
It's so great. And one of the funny things about like Twitch culture is that every emote that we know tends, like, people will refer to the emotes verbally. So someone might like tweet out "not like this" and spell it in the way where it would normally register as an emote. So like anyone who goes on Twitch is going to see that and like mentally be picturing the hands and hair thing. And another example is like Kappa. Can we get some Kappas in chat, please? Anytime that you want to signify like sarcasm or essentially nullify whatever you've said, you put that Kappa face that you're seeing there. So that's Kappa. So people will verbally say something.
For sarcasm?
That's for sarcasm.
Why is that for sarcasm?
I don't even know how that became the thing. I'm not sure,
Who
but
is that person?
he's actually someone who I think works at Twitch, which is funny.
He's just a very sarcastic Twitch employee. The Twitch team was like, this guy.
He had the perfect face. Yeah. So like people will say something out loud that's ridiculous and then they'll be like Kappa. And if they say it, then that's just like saying, oh, I'm just being sarcastic. So like
someone threw a Ram Dass in there.
Yeah, that's one of my emotes.
Oh, interesting. I almost got Ram Dass. This is also my first beard.
It's Ram Dass in a bit. It's spreading.
It's starting to Ram Dass. I'm going for Darwin, late life Darwin. But I could shoot for Ram Dass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's one of the emotes that you can get if you subscribe to my channel is the Ram Dass.
That's a nice first beard. I mean, it's not like it takes practice.
He's really been focused, guys.
I've literally just not shaved. And sometimes I put conditioner in it, and I don't do nearly enough things. I love that idea. I love the idea of like getting your first beard and people being like, nope. And you're like, yeah, you're right. I missed it.
Try again.
Start again. Huh? Well, that's a little better.
Get in the mirror and as you see the first little bits of stubble, be like, you listen up, you son of a bitch. You better go fucking Ram Dass right now or so help me.
Beard ovations.
Yes. Yeah, so like there's the Kappa one, right? Which is like the way of kind of signifying sarcasm. There's PogChamp, which can we get some pogs? Various types of pogs. So people will actually say poggers or PogChamps or pog as a way of signifying that face, which like I have my own pog emote, and then there's the global PogChamp emote, which you're seeing from Thumper there, which is kind of like the holy shit face.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Nice.
What's another one? Jabated. Can we get some jabateds?
So okay. That's maybe my favorite one so far. The jabated's the O-face one?
The O-face one is my Snaps OMG emote. The jabated is the one underneath with the guy looking up.
Yeah, no. I don't like the ones that are just the Twitch employees. I find them strange and confusing. And then you win me over with a Bob Ross. Okay. All right, Twitch crew.
Mm-hmm.
You got me.
Yeah, so like your own emotes could be your own face kind of doing some of these like standard emotes, or you could just pick random shit.
So you can... So if you're a Justin, you can just like dust around the house and people tune in and be like, whoa, I can't believe Justin is dusting the fan like that. How does he get up there? And then, and people get real jazzed up about it enough to start an empire.
Yeah.
But if you're not a Justin, who's the world's most interesting got, even when he's doing mundane tasks, people just can't get enough of it. If you're not a Justin, then the next move was video games, right? And then is it that, because I almost screened my documentary on here.
Oh, really?
Is that a thing that people do?
Is your documentary available on Prime? Oh, I wonder if it's available through Prime.
Well, I mean, I just have like the file of it.
Oh,
like,
okay.
I can literally, like, I own it.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point. Given that it's your IP, you should be safe to stream it as long as you don't have any partners that would like block that.
Yeah, I do have to clear it, but that's not a hard thing to do. But and then I have because don't people have like viewing parties and stuff on here? Is that a thing?
Oh,
okay,
and yours is actually linked through. They have this thing called Amazon Watch Party. So you can actually, it's cool that I'm very surprised that yours is listed here. That's fucking awesome. So we're going to watch that together at some point, friends. But like I can play it through Amazon Prime and watch it with people. But like, okay, so you don't have to just do gaming on Twitch because since everything has kind of expanded, like my content, a lot of what I do is I literally just sit in the just chatting directory, which is what we're in right now. And I just smoke weed and talk shit with people. Like we just talk all day, and sometimes we look up funny things on the internet. And then if I want to, I'll game or do my podcasts and things like that. But like you can come on here and create art. You can come on here and mix music. You can play your videos, or you can just sit and wait for someone to ask you a question and then talk to them.
So you have the sitting and waiting for a question sounds like a sad place to start. For
someone without an audience, it can be very awkward.
I mean, when I started doing Instagram, I was like, oh, I see people are doing Instagram lives. Is that a thing? And I did it for a while, and then I was just watching, like, starting at 30 viewers and then just slowly watching it, like, diminish down to 8. Like, oh, it'll be more interesting. Oh, but I never,
Oh,
like, planned anything. I would always just, like, turn it on and be like, what's happening right now? And so I'm basically your grandpa trying to figure out how things work on most social media. I'm doing on Monday, I'm doing a thing where we're playing the board game Code Names
yeah.
with some people, and which that game's awesome. And then and I think comedians do, like, virtual stand-up shows, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen any? I've been uninterested. Has anyone out there tuned into
Hello.
any virtual stand-up shows? Because I'm against them, just generally as an idea. I don't think that they would work that well. But I've heard people say that they've really enjoyed them.
What do you think won't work well? Not being able to have the eyes on the people?
I mean, the audience is the instrument. I mean, I think that I think for a conversation or for a podcast and to have people chiming in and stuff, like, I'm doing a crowdcast event tomorrow, and that's like a live version of my podcast where it's me, two professors, and a second comedian talking about media use and when kids should use phones and how much, and how online dating affects psychology and stuff like that.
Fascinating.
That's what they research. And but I have oh shit, I forgot what I was. Oh, am I supposed to? I
You
can
can swear.
right?
Yeah, this is a safe place
Well,
for
now I
that.
forgot what I was going to say.
You were asking about like if it makes sense to do live shows on here.
Oh yeah, and why virtual stand up. So I mean, to me, like, traditional stand up comedy, like, me me going and doing late night television or something like that, the audience is so much of it's an instrument that I'm playing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm building tension, I'm intentionally making the audience be like, oh, like, oh, I don't know if we can talk about that. And then, you know, you deliver the punchline that's like, oh, okay. And that makes it all okay. And there's, like, this tension, there's this release, everyone laughs, and everyone hears everyone else laughing. And I don't get how that would work virtually. I've heard that there was you know, there's people that have it so that they can hear the audience, you know,
Mm-hmm.
tuning in and laughing. It's all just I would much rather learn something like this and have genuine cool conversations with people and goof around on the internet and everything else, and do stand up once we can do stand up again. I'm not even interested in doing the socially distance stand up. I think it's silly. I think it's if I'll say this, imagine COVID never happened, and if a stand-up comedian went into a comedy club and saw an audience where everyone was spaced out 6 feet apart, or it was, like, outdoors, and
Like
then they were
everyone's in
wearing
their cars.
a fucking laugh muffle over their
Mm.
faces, and or in their car. Like, the standard has always been, this is nothing new. You don't have to be, any stand-up comic can tell you this. You want low ceilings, you want people packed together, you want it light, you want it to be dark because people laugh more when in anonymity. Like, people don't even realize if the lights are turned up a little bit in the room, you'll get way less laughs than if the lights are just turned down. There's
That just
little
fucked
things
me
like
up a little
that
bit. Just thinking
that
about it, like,
makes
oh
so much of a
shit.
difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in the same way that, like, people are such dicks sometimes on, like, YouTube or whatever, because they can be in because you know, they can say things they would never say to someone's face. check my Twitter. I'm as guilty as anybody. But but the point is, there's all of these subconscious considerations, and to see all these professional comedians going and doing distance shows, it's like, did you guys just forget decades of experience?
What do you
Like,
think pushes
this
them to
isn't
do
how
it? Is it like a money thing?
Yeah, I mean, one, I think the thing that I think the thing that is probably the best reason to do stand up right now. This is if you don't give a shit about spreading COVID. Is that which I do.
Thank you for clarifying. I was like, I'll just wait. I know he will.
And it is for the experience. And by the way, there are plenty of ways of putting together and doing a show safely. I just don't believe that there's a way of doing it safely and having it be a good, entertaining show. And the thing is as much that in the same way, there's a cliche in comedy where like someone gets drunk and they start like they get too loud. They don't realize how loud they're being, an audience member, and they're like chatting with the table next to they just don't, they're too drunk to understand how disruptive they're being, and they are warned a few times, and then they're like, oh, but I was just laughing, and they're like arguing, and finally after like 8 warnings they finally have to get kicked out. The whole audience is grateful because this person was ruining the show, and that person goes and is like, writes the Yelp review of like, I was just I got thrown out for laughing too hard. It's like, no one's ever been thrown out for laughing too hard. You were an asshole. And in that same way, there's no one that's going to, people are going to go in, be well-meaning. They don't understand all of the subconscious things that go into things like a joke that, for example, a joke that kills in a live room also might not be as good at home. Like what works live in a club isn't necessarily the thing that's going to be good on your CD or good on your special, because when someone's alone in their car, the things that they laugh at are a different thing than when there's a crowd around. In a crowd, hackier, safer kind of material tends to do better. On a special or album or whatever, more cerebral, kind of more comedy savvy stuff, it tends to make a person stand out, and edgier stuff works better because or weirder things work better because you can laugh at it in your car without worrying about what the person next to. But it's the best of both worlds because you also still hear the audience laughing, so you're still laughing with a virtual audience. And so the idea of doing a distance show, it's I know a lot of friends that are doing it, but compared to all of the other things that I could do with my time to set myself up to, I'm not here I'm here talking to you because you seem like a lovely, cool person, and I'm up for new experiences and trying new things and learning new things. But what I'm after are things that can add stuff to my career. So I'm not interested in like getting on Twitch for the year or whatever until I can tour again. I'm interested in getting on Twitch if it's something that I can actually integrate into my career and do even after I'm touring and everything else. So all of these like quarantined, compromised things, I think, are a waste of comedians' time. It's fine. They're my competition. I don't mind if people want to waste a bunch of time. I'll pull right ahead of them in a year or so. And but there's also just the economics of it don't make sense, and it's nothing like people want to make it a political thing, like, well, it's either a lockdown or a lot or free reign, and if we just open up everything, then we can all just tour and do whatever. But that's not how it works. You still there, like, I usually go to a restaurant Is it okay that I'm just going off the rails on
Oh
like
yeah.
okay,
I
cool.
think my community
Um
expects that more than anything.
So yeah, I've been having to explain this to people over and over again, where people think that that's like, well, we got to end the lockdowns and that will save the economy. It actually won't help my job in any way. My job, my ability to attract customers is more dependent on how much of a threat COVID is than any law one way
Mm-hmm.
or another. So I need consumer confidence that when like even if COVID were a hoax, which it's not, but even if COVID were a hoax, if 90% of people believe that it's this scary thing and won't come out to a show because of that, that that means I can't get butts in seats no matter what the laws are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going and the only so what we need is an environment where people will feel comfortable packing in close to each other for stand-up comedy to work again. And for that to happen, we need to have a country like New Zealand or something like that that has insanely low rates. It's not just like all right, comedy club, open up. It doesn't like I was saying I typically, when I was on the road, I was dining out like 2-3 times a day typically. So and I spend, I usually go to nice restaurants at least once a day. I tip well. I'm a target demographic for a restaurant owner. I've been to one restaurant since COVID.
Mm.
Now, like it's not a political like you might be like, "Hey Shane, well you're just living in fear." So, well, maybe I am. But but I know
You
people
also
that are
have
living
talked to like
more more in fear.
epidemiologists and stuff and had conversations about this shit.
And there's people way more scared of like, first off, a lot of people are worried about like surface transmission and stuff like that. I'm not even that worried about. I just have no interest in going and being in groups of people, especially when I can't trust that people won't wear masks right now. Like I want to go rock climbing, for example. And there's a rock climbing gym. I feel relatively safe. I don't believe surface transmission is a main mode of
Mm-hmm.
transmission. I'm happy to wash my hands. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Climbers are introverts. I think most of them would stay away, wear a mask, blah blah blah. But I still don't. When I'm out and about, I don't trust people. People
No.
don't distance. They don't do. They
And they
don't
got
do
the
the
masks under
things.
the nose and like the whole
And
thing.
And so consumer confidence is dependent on other consumers, other people following along. So we need to create a condition where possible customers feel like going out and going to a comedy
Mm-hmm.
club or whatever. And so everything else could be fine. Like restaurant, say COVID never existed and there was a restaurant that was like, at our restaurant, we don't see anyone within 6 feet or within 10 feet. I'd be like, sign me up. That is
Right? That sounds awesome.
that's a selling point. That's amazing. I want to go to that restaurant. Same with like jazz club. If I'm taking like a girl out to jazz or something like that, and you have some like VIP booth or something like that, that's 10 feet away, terrific. I can't imagine a better jazz experience than that. I don't need to be bumping elbows with someone while I'm trying to dine or
Mm-mm.
listen to music or whatever. But with stand-up comedy, you absolutely do. And whether when if another cliche in comedy is if people are coming in and you just let people sit wherever they want to, which you don't do. You always seat people
Oh.
unless it's packed, and it doesn't matter, because if you don't do that,
They all go
what
to the
people
back.
will they always go to the back because why, it looks comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and people don't always know it's in their best interest because they don't have experience in this new environment, and people are worried about being in the front and being picked on or whatever, which I don't do, but there are shitty comics that are like, your shirt's dumb. And uh and and so you need to kind of seat people and force people into this experience for the betterment of their own experience, and they wouldn't know. No one's ever going to know, oh, I laughed harder because the lights were dimmer.
Mm-hmm.
No one's ever going to know that. And in that same way, if people go out to a distance show right now, bless their hearts for being supportive, and what a weird, interesting experience to be a part of. Um, but uh, but I sorry, I'm also trying to read comments.
That's welcome to being a streamer.
but at the same time, say you have like a decent time, it's not going to be as funny because there's not as many laughs, and laughs are contagious. Afterwards, I don't trust that an audience member is going to go, well, I laughed some, and I would have laughed more had there been more people around. No, they would be like, that comedian was okay.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to think. Now you've burned yourself. You've possibly burned yourself. A lot of people maybe go to see live stand-up comedy once in a lifetime or once in a year or something like that. And unlike music, where you have a bad music experience, no one's like, I guess I don't like music. Stand-up comedy.
Comedy's not for me. I guess I'm just not funny.
Stand-up comedy, one bad experience can absolutely make people never go out again. And so it seems like it's possibly something that could negatively influence the stand-up anyway. And I have the same worry with virtual stand-up. So that's why I haven't been.
I like your attitude about like, I'm just gonna do my thing and let them do the damage to their own careers, do these shows where maybe they're not putting out the best version of themselves, and I'll show up after.
I don't think that they're damaging their careers necessarily. It's just what's and it might be an awesome experience, and maybe it'll be a way of like not getting too rusty and trying out new material and whatever else. Who knows? Like, this is a crazy landscape, and no one's going to have the right answer. What I am saying is when I think of all of the things to you have to make a consideration. How much time do I want to dedicate to Twitch? How much time do I want to dedicate to Twitter, or writing a new book, or writing stand-up jokes? And right now, to go out and book a show that maybe people will show up to, maybe will get canceled. And if it does happen, probably won't be that great because of everything going on. COVID doesn't impact how good me writing a book is. So I'd rather focus on things like that.
That's interesting. And there's this thing that people do online a lot, like in the Twitch world and various live streamers. They make a big deal out of 24-hour streams. Like it's this whole thing that you're going to just stay online for a full fucking day and like talk to people. And when I first started streaming, that was like very much a part of the culture. Like, you got to grind. You got to get those view counts up. You got to do this. And I noticed that 24-hour streams, everyone hyped them up. Like, you have to do these sometimes because your community will love it and you'll get exposed to all these different time zones and stuff. But like, in order to get through those, I was like taking more of I'm not on Adderall anymore, but at the time I was still on Adderall. I was like spacing out my Adderall doses. I had a quarter of an energy drink for every quarter of the day.
What would be great for your career? Cocaine.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I did a bunch of those, realized that like I always felt like shit. My sleep schedule was ruined after. And I'm like, I'm exposing myself to this different time zone that I wouldn't normally see, but they're getting either me all like fucking jacked up and Adderalled, or they're getting me exhausted, and that's not they're not going to stick around if they see me when I'm tired as fuck. Because when I'm streaming normally, I'm on my shit. I can read really fast. I talk to the community quickly. If I'm doing a 24-hour stream, I'm probably missing messages. Someone came in and said hi and I missed it. Like, I'm doing more harm than good, most likely.
Yeah. There was, I mean, that was a gimmick for a while in stand-up comedy too, where it was just like Guinness Book of World Records, who can do the longest like, I mean, Chappelle was doing like 9-hour sets for a while for whatever reason, but bless him. That's like, I mean, here's what a bad idea that is. There was people walking out on Dave Chappelle, the
Yeah.
greatest comedian alive. That's how bad of an idea doing a 9-hour set is. But yeah, by the way, Thumper GG, I'm in Wisconsin right now, you asked, and also you're correct that meth would be a better drug than cocaine.
Yeah,
used for
because
24
longer
hours
lasting,
straight.
right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really
Someone pop the
cool
legal
and
command.
interesting and scary but inspiring that I mean, I think what I think is the greatest tragedy besides the health consequences of COVID and economic consequences is that there's lots of missed opportunities coming out right now because we're having this big shakeup of all these different things. What's entertainment going to be like? We're reassessing ourselves. We're calling old high school buddies. We're
Let's
rethinking
not call
our
that
careers.
a we yet, buddy.
We are Snaps, and whoops.
I told him to pop the
wasn't
legal
supposed to-
command. That's why you're seeing all kinds of shit
Oh,
there.
I see. My bad. I won't make jokes about things we should not joke about.
It's so funny because we talk about him so much, and one of my lawyers is actually a member of the community here, so he wrote up that little disclaimer. So if you look in chat,
How many lawyers you rocking?
One for like most things, another for a different thing. I can tell you about that offline. That's a whole thing. But he wrote up this command. So like anything that you see coming out of the account listed as Snap bot, that's my bot. So you can pre-program the bot. So if like someone comes into your stream and you're focused on something or doing something, and they want to know what game you're playing or how long you've been live or what your social media links are, it's like pretty common that you can go into a stream on Twitch and type ! followed by something like social, like Lansing just did in chat. So he typed social, the bot responds with my links. Someone types legal, the bot responds with that. And then there's a bunch of other really ridiculous ones in here. Like,
all right, guys, I'm about to talk about my testicles. Fire the testicle bot.
Okay.
Is that what you... is that how you...
I don't think we have testicle-related bot commands yet. But we do have this thing where you can type ! dick name in chat and the bot will tell you what your dick name is.
Chubb Norris? Not bad. Where has Chuck Norris been, by the way?
I don't know.
Suspiciously missing through all this COVID stuff.
I gotta grow a beard to be able to...
Yeah, it's not as... No, yeah, you do this. If you have a beard, you do this. Maybe you should just try just doing this with your skin. I think it might.
Well,
like
I mean, I'm half Mexican. Like, if I leave this long enough, I could probably just do some, like... I start getting a nice little stash real fast.
Testicle bot, go! COVID contracted Chuck Norris.
Oh, God.
This is fun. I'm enjoying this.
Right? So, like, what you're experiencing here is what, like, I think you would probably really enjoy about Twitch. And it is awkward at first because you come on stream and you're kind of just sitting there and, like, talking to yourself or listening to music or whatever, waiting for people to talk. But because you already have an established base, it's unlikely that you would ever have anything under, like, 5 people. And even just 5 people in a community, some of the people in here stream also, they can attest, like, even just one person talking back to you when you first start out on Twitch, it's such an exciting experience. Because, like, people are curious and you're a very curious person. Like, that's very evident. So I think you would have a good time just getting to know strangers on a daily basis.
There was a line in there that I liked and didn't like at the same time. Your dick flavor is queso. That's one of those that's like, I'm happy you did and I wish you wouldn't have. at the same time.
Yeah, so we have dick name, dick flavor, and snatch name. There's a rate my penis command. And a bunch of other ridiculous ones.
That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how do you program all these things? You just have one of your 15 lawyers do it?
Yes, one of the team. No, so you see all the people in chat that have swords next to their names, the green sword?
Oh, yeah.
Aside from the bot, like anyone who has a sword is a moderator. So they have the ability to update things in the bot. They have the ability to, depending on like what level mod they are, they can make announcements in my Discord. They can time people out in chat. They can do all kinds of stuff. So I have some mods who actually know how to operate the bots really well, and they've helped me to create these different commands. And then we basically sat for a day just smoking weed and laughing as we collectively came up with dick names and vagina names. Garlic cereal is a bad one.
That's a good day.
It is a good day. That's what I was trying to tell you earlier. There's some days where I like end stream and I'm like, my job is the coolest fucking job. I talked about dicks all day.
Dick names. I mean to crank that out, pun somewhat intended, in just one day that's terrific work.
Oh, thank you.
Like that's to have a Twitch channel worth of dick names in just 8 short hours. I mean,
it's less actually. I used to stream really long hours. On average, I stream I think at most like 6 now.
That's amazing. So in less than 6 hours, just bam, you're set for life.
Just cranking out those dick names. Yep, just cranking.
Wow.
Yeah, so you're seeing all the random commands that people are enjoying. Without context, some of them make no sense. Like the rate my duple, there's a person in our community named Duple, and for whatever reason, we created a command where you can rate your duple, and it's not even a rating. Like the command itself doesn't make sense because it tells you how big your duple is instead of a rating on it.
Yeah. I mean, if there's someone, I think if there's someone named Duple in any community, there, someone needs to say something about it. You don't just, elephant in the room. There's someone named Duple here. So.
Oh my God. You know what's so funny? So there's a bunch of people in this community who started out with totally different usernames and then through like inside jokes and shenanigans wound up getting called something else, so they just changed their name. Like Lansing is in chat. His username used to be Captain Lisney. And then I was really high one night and we were joking around about something stupid and I started calling him Lansing and it stuck. And Duple, his username used to be Depraved God. And that was another like stumbling idiot moment where I was trying to say Depraved God is a soup expert. No idea the context anymore, but I accidentally said Duple the Souple expert. And now he's Duple and he renamed himself on everything. Like there's so many people who just become who they are in this community.
Wow. Well, I hope that I called dibs on next misspoken word.
Okay.
Out of your mouth, like in life, not just on Twitch. Like in life, I expect a text from you or something and be like, your new name is whatever word you misspoke.
I'll hypothetically do some drugs and come up with a great name for you soon.
So, what? All right. You have a podcast, you said too, right? So do you do that? Do you record the podcast through here and then put it out different? So you're on Twitch and then you go, okay, we're already talking. This is a normal thing. And then 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm podcasting. Is that what?
You could do it that way. Like there are a lot of podcasts and like group podcasts that run on Twitch. Some people will be streaming the whole day and then they'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to take a little break. And when I come back, we'll be doing the podcast. So they might just put up a hold screen and then come back. for me, because of the way we're doing the video feed right now, I couldn't go live until we started. So it just made more sense. And like I think I told you my schedule on Fridays, like I only go on for a short time now anyway. So like I just hop on, let people know we're going to be live shortly, and we kind of jump into it. And then my podcast editor helps create the actual audio file and puts that up on my podcast account. So people can be here and they can watch it live. And if you want to, like if you were to do this on Twitch, start recording your podcasts on here, you could take questions from chat at the end and ignore them the rest of the time. And you can export your video off of Twitch, because you can either set it to save all your past broadcasts, and then if someone comes to your channel and you're not live, they can look through all your videos. Or you can delete the past broadcast and like put that on your Patreon or something, or put it on your YouTube account. So if people want to see it and not just hear it, they either have to tune in when it's happening or they have to go to your other account.
One of my things is I don't, because my podcast isn't like a comedy podcast where I have a bunch of comics on that already have equipment and are familiar with doing this and that. I have academics who often have like never done anything like this until now everyone's having to remote teach. But is there, like I know I came in through Discord, so
you could just do a screen cap of Zoom.
Ah, I see. Interesting.
Yeah, so with streaming, you have your broadcast software, right? So like I use this thing called Streamlabs OBS, also known as Slobs. And Streamlabs OBS is where I put up, like if you see on my stream, there's the overlay, like there's my logo and stuff above my name and all this stuff. And it's what pulls my audio feed and whatever it is that I want. So in this, I can have it just capture me, or I can have it capture like my desktop view. So for our conversation, that's all I'm doing is I'm just capturing a desktop view. So if you were going to be doing like a Zoom call with someone, that's probably all you would do as well, is just bring up kind of an empty scene is what this is called, like what you're seeing on my stream. Bring up an empty scene and do a screen cap and basically just go live with that.
I like that idea. I think I downloaded OBS as well.
It can be really confusing at first. There's too many settings and you don't really use like any of them. And everyone has a preference. Like there's XSplit, there's Slobs, there's just OBS. What are some of the other ones? I can't even think of some of them, but everyone has a preference of what they like. I wound up doing XSplit for a while and now I use Slobs, and I find it to be the easiest so far in terms of like the interface and everything.
So someone asked if I play games. I like video games too much to play them. Because I have really bad impulse control. I'm an abstainer. I just quit drinking for like the third time back in May, and smoking cigarettes at the start of COVID. And I have a super addictive personality. The last gaming system that I owned was Sega CD.
Okay.
Do you happen to remember Sega CD?
The only console I had growing up, I had an NES, and then we had the N64. We never had any Sega products, and then my brother got a PlayStation, and that was when we started like FPS games and stuff.
Yeah,
Never Sega CD.
Yeah, and then I played PlayStation stuff, but I once stopped after a show. I stopped in at a friend's house on the way home. They just to say hi and have a beer. They happened to have Guitar Hero when it first came out.
Nice.
And I ended up at their house for like 2 days straight. Like I didn't go home. I had a girlfriend at the time who was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Are you cheating on me?" And I like literally could not stop playing Guitar Hero.
What were your friends doing? Were they just like, "Okay, bud," or were they playing with you? Were they a part of this trip?
They're part of the
okay.
journey. And so And so I can't. I just can't. I've had like things on like Angry Birds or whatever before on my phone. It's just like I can't just like sit on the toilet, play Angry Birds and be like, that was a nice use of my toilet. No,
It's like 6
it
hours later and your legs are cramped. You can't like
y-
walk normal anymore.
exactly. It's like forget about. I mean, I have it as a stand-up comic. It requires tons of self-discipline, and you have to. I mean, how hard you work has an impact on how well you do in many ways. There's a lot more to it of just like some people are just such characters or personalities. People have natural talents and such, but it requires so much self-discipline. But at the same time, you can also just not. You can just coast. I mean,
Mm.
once you're like set up and going, there's comedians that like start headlining, they get on the road, they get a little comfortable, and then they just like stop. They stop writing new jokes. They just tour around, and you'll see them doing the same exact jokes for like 10, 20 years sometimes. And so if I have a video, like I can just dedicate 2 months of my life to Angry Birds.
Mm.
There won't be like a measurable difference in my life. Like a year later, I'll be like, gosh, I can't believe I spent that 2 months on Angry Birds. Whoops. No wonder like my I haven't written much new material this year or whatever. But did I beat Sewer Shark on Sega CD? I hated Sewer Shark. That was the game that came with Sega CD. Hilarious. So anyway, can't play video games. I like board games. I'm big into board games. I like code names, as I mentioned. I like Pandemic. I like cooperative games.
You might really like. Have you seen Among Us?
Mm-mm.
Among Us, it's like this 8-bit game where you can have like up to 10 people in it and up to 2 imposters. So it's like everyone is meant to be crewmates on this ship, and you complete all these little basic tasks, which are kind of like super simplistic puzzles. And when you get all the tasks completed, you win the game. But within the crewmates, there's 2 people who are imposters, and no one knows who they are. So the imposters are going around trying to kill people and sabotage the missions. And then everyone comes together in like a group chat and they talk on little breaks to try to figure out who the imposter is and vote them out. And it's like the most wonderful, hateful game ever. You know, like you will ruin friendships, but also like them more because of like how savage they are after. You might enjoy playing with that with some friends online. And I don't think it's something that you would be able to know life, you know? I can't imagine anyone like soloing into some kind of Among Us game. I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I've played some games with some mechanisms like that. But I have some I don't know. I like what I like the most about board games is I'm like when I'm recording something, I can blab. You can barely shut me up. If the record button's going, I never run out of things to say. In a normal social setting, I'm somewhat awkward. I'm pretty reserved. I was always very shy growing up. I still am a little bit. And board games are such a nice way of because you can play and be paying attention, and then you have something interesting or whatever to say. You can say it, you can have an interesting conversation, and then get back to playing the game. And it takes up that pressure of the, oh my gosh, there's dead air right
Oh my
now.
God, yeah.
Oh, we better fill it because silence is the worst thing.
Do you feel that like normally outside of gaming, like games and being around people? Do you struggle with silence?
No, I'm really comfortable with it, but it seems like other people do. And then when other people have like uh, you know, force conversation or force the need to be like, so weather, I'm always like, oh no, they're trying to connect with me right now, and like it's not the right mood or time or whatever, and this is forced and awkward. And so that's I mean, that's one of the big things that I absolutely love about board games. And I used to even bring some around, because I enjoy hanging out with people after shows, depending on my energy level and how well the show went or my mood or whatever. But uh, I've quit drinking a few times in my career. This is the third, and uh, and to not just like have drinks with people. Sometimes I would bring like code names in or some other game like it in to show people, because you can like play with 8 people. It's easy to learn. It's a fun, silly social thing, and it's better than people forcing that way you can hang out with people and everyone can have fun and you can have some natural conversation. When people feel forced to into a conversation, it's the most awkward. Like after shows, people that I'm sure mean very well come up and they'll be like, I have a joke for you.
Oh God.
And then it's usually like some awful like street joke. It's like, first off, comics can't and wouldn't use street jokes or jokes that they haven't written on stage. And it's always like super racist too. Usually, like,
I got a joke. It's kind of edgy. I'm an edgy person, bro.
What about my act made you think that I wanted to hear that? And it's always, and they're always like, you can use that. Like they're helping.
Thank you.
They're helping you out. And it's always, the most startling thing is that it's always like, there's like a predictability to it too, and it's like lame. It's like, man, how are you both like racist and boring at the same time? Like, if you're gonna be racist, at least make me feel something. Like,
oh my God.
I don't
Dude.
I don't want to be like, oh, rolling.
So I gotta show you this. Look at this. You're gonna have to open this up in your own screen for a second, because if I show it to you on my scene, I think it'll look weird. But click that link I just put in chat. Hopefully it doesn't break everything.
Your Snapbot?
Yeah, it should say Troll Bingo.
Troll Bingo.
So like the same kind of concept applies on Twitch. Like the trolling is very predictable. It's always one of only X amount of things that people do, and they don't really realize how redundant it is. So we just started making a game out of it. So like people start up a new Troll Bingo card when they come into chat. Everyone has their own because the cards shuffle. So if you refresh it, it'll give you a totally different card. And as trolls come in, people come in and say nasty shit. We always give them a chance. Like, we're very compassionate. We understand the people who are doing that usually are the ones who need a community like ours the most. So we give them an opportunity to like chill and understand that it's fucking weird here and they could have fun if they just fucking chill. But if they don't, then we just mark it on our card and like have a laugh about it, because it's always like the same shit. You could have like a comic bingo, and I'm sure you would have so many of the same ones.
Insult.
Yeah.
That's just a common thing.
People will come in like Russian and they'll like call me a whore or something.
That's amazing.
It's really fun.
What a blessed life you have.
When you were talking earlier about the idea of like Justin, like dusting and stuff, I wanted to clarify like how it would actually be. Because like when you start streaming, people want more and more and more. They want you to stream yourself cooking. They want you to stream your workouts. They want you to stream like, if they have the ability to stay with you while you do anything, they will do it because they enjoy, like we enjoy this connection, right? But the problem is the more you let them into your life, the more you're also opening it up to the other people. So like if I were to tomorrow just be like, fuck it, I'm going to do this exact thing and I'm just going to stream myself dusting my blinds. what you'll see is my chat coming in and talking to themselves and to me about random shit. And then some dude's gonna be like, your form isn't appropriate for the way that you're dusting. You gotta have your elbow at a different angle. I know this because I have a degree in dusting. And then someone else will come in and be like, clearly she's only dusting because she's a whore. What a slut. We should get her off this platform. Like, that's basically this wide range of just nonsense that would happen.
Wow. Well, you're selling me on it.
Yeah, right? That's honestly, people get really upset over the trolling on here, but it really doesn't bother me because I know it's not about me. You know, like I'm just the one they found at that particular point. But like someone coming in here and calling me like an ugly whore and like saying all kinds of stupid shit, I'm just like, okay, bud. I'm sorry you're having a bad day. Can I get you a juice box?
Yeah, there's a lot of bad days out there. Need juice boxes. So what's your Twitch schedule?
I stream on Mondays and Tuesdays from like 10 to 4. I stream Wednesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 7. And then Fridays, I'm either not live at all and I do like YouTube recording, or I come on for bars, which is that Becoming an Anti-Racist Society. Like, it's like a panel discussion that we do every week or every other week, or I'll do something like this or community nights. And then Saturdays, like every other Saturday, we're doing community nights now, where I do an open mic night or an art showcase night and just let people from the community show off whatever kind of cool creations they have. Like show and tell, but a little bit more purposeful.
Interesting. So you have a plan for each one, basically? Like you have like here's what we do on.
I used to. Like the only things that are structured now are really like Fridays and Saturdays, but otherwise, like if I go live, some days I'm like, I want to play this game because there's something specific happening. Otherwise, it's usually just hop online, talk to people, and see where the day goes. Like, there have been plenty of times where I've got online and I'm like, today I'm going to play video games. And then 6 hours later, we're still immersed in some really great conversations. And I'm like, all right, no gaming today. Fuck it. It looks like it's just a talking day. That's what a lot of my streams are. I spend a lot more of my time in just chatting than I would have ever expected to. But, like, I just fucking love talking to people, man. I love it.
Where are you from originally?
Chicago.
Oh yeah, I knew that. And you're in Arizona now. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
2 for 2. You're passing this test so far.
Phoenix?
Yeah.
Okay. I like Phoenix. What do you you fucks with Sedona or?
Yeah. My boyfriend, actually, when we first met, that was where we had our first date, was in Sedona.
That's not bad.
Right?
Yeah.
It was very chill.
Plus you got it's like it's, in case you're worried about the jealousy thing, it's nothing but old people too. You got like all this beautiful scenery and a bunch of blue hairs, which make both of you look more attractive to one another. No offense to all of the senior citizens in the stream right now.
Yeah, no offense to all of you lovely elderly
within
people.
The context of your age.
Yeah. We moved here for the geriatrics, 100%. That was the vibe.
A lot of insects in Arizona. One of my favorite insect researchers is in Tucson.
Cool.
Justin Schmidt. He's the developer of the Schmidt Pain Index. It is probably the most famous thing in entomology in terms of something that's permeated the zeitgeist in any way. He's gotten himself stung by every insect that stings.
What is a scorpion? Where does that fall in? That's not an insect, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Oh, wait. No. No, just like bees and wasps
Okay.
and things like that. And yeah, arachnids are not insects. They're
Yeah, I saw them saying it's an arachnid, and I was like, I thought arachnids were only spiders, though. So is a
yeah,
scorpion an
and
arachnid?
and ticks.
Oh, really?
Ticks and spiders are arachnids.
What?
They
I
have
didn't know that.
8 legs. I think that's the criteria. I should know all this. I've had like a few insect episodes recently, but this pain index is I had the dude on, really bizarre dude, and it's 1 through 4, but he describes each sting as if he's reviewing fine wine. So like a 1, like a light one, he's like, whatever, like sort of um bee or whatever is a 1. I think a honeybee is a 2 for reference.
Okay.
And so a 1 is like you're walking across the carpet, you touch the light switch and receive just like a slight static shock, almost invigorating.
Hmm.
And a 4 is like you are chained to the side of an active volcano. Why did you start this study? It's really fantastic. I recommend everyone looking up the Schmidt pain index. But
And you
yeah,
have a podcast
Arizona,
episode with this guy?
yeah,
recent?
yeah. Yep. No, not recent. Just look up Justin Schmidt. Here we are. But I've had 2 recent. My last podcast was about gene editing mosquitoes, which they're trying to do in Florida to reduce the spread of disease in humans, to reduce the spread of pathogens, and the pros and cons of that. They're the 2 researchers that I had on were kind of against doing that. I'm sort of for it. But yeah, you alter the DNA so that males impregnate females, and their sperm can only make females, or the females can only make males, and any of their sperm that leads to eggs can also only make, if it is a female, it can only make it can only make males, something like that. Basically within a few generations, they're driven to extinction in a given species is the hope in this.
And do you
And
remember, like,
so,
are mosquitoes, has there been any evidence yet that mosquitoes are necessary, or is it still, everything's
oh
still
yeah,
leaning
they're
towards like meh?
pollinators, and
Ah,
they pollinate. They're food for like bats, and yeah, ecosystems are incredibly intricate, fragile, weird, dynamic, chaotic systems that have drastic unintended consequences when you start doing things like that. But I kind of I was like, well, if you're against doing that, are you for preserving a species that is like naturally going extinct? And they were for preserving a species that is naturally, which is a bit playing God, if you ask me. And so you could go either way. But yeah, they just Google Justin Schmidt, and yes,
Nice.
he is a badass. So yeah, that's the weird kind of stuff that mostly we talk about brain stuff on my show, psychology,
That's
why
what I
people
liked
think
about it.
the way that they do,
I think the
things like
first episode I listened to was you talking to someone about our vision, how vision works.
No, I don't even remember that. That would have been a pretty old one.
Yeah, I think this was like a long time ago.
Ah, yeah, perception. Yeah, I think that guy was at Madison. I can't remember his name. Yeah, I don't. I wish I knew a little more about visual perception, but it is off the top of my head, nothing interesting to say about it. It's amazing that our what our conscious experience is able to put together is absolutely incredible. That like certain neurons uh, decode like a dot, and then other ones decode a line, and other ones decode an angle, and it has to put all of that together, and it does it in a flash. You wake up in the morning, you open your eyes, you can see. It doesn't seem like anything that remarkable, but you can hardly we still haven't been able to make robots that can see anywhere near the level of just like most insects or small mammals or whatever. And yeah, it's incredible. I Do you know Oliver Sacks at all?
I know the name, but I don't know much past that.
He has this great book called The Mind's Eye that's all about perception. That's really, really interesting. And he's one of these cases where,
Oh, my stream is just lagging. Hold on 1 second.
yeah,
I think we stabilized. That's interesting. Okay, please continue.
no problem. He studied things like blindness. He studied perception generally. He's the guy. Robin Williams played him in I forget the name of the movie because he created L-Dopa for Parkinson's.
Interesting.
And so anyhow, he there so he studied things like Charles Bonnet syndrome, which is where blind people that go blind later on in life will have visual hallucinations. Which is this really interesting. No, he wasn't Patch Adams.
Everyone thinks it's Patch Adams.
And now it's Awakenings, I believe. No, is that another one of his books? I feel like it's Awakenings.
Someone else is saying that in chat too, so maybe
without googling it. What's that?
Someone else is saying Awakenings too.
Yeah. How come I can't see them saying that?
Oh, maybe it needs to refresh for you too. It's right above like the Snapbot thing. So Eigentourist was saying Awakenings with a question mark.
Yeah, it was Awakenings. Oh, I just hit. Yeah. Okay. What's happening?
My stream may have froze on your laptop because it dipped for a second. Yeah, so you might have to refresh.
So anyway, then he lost like sight in one eye like later on in life and got to experience there's this long history of like these really weird, interesting cases where someone will like study Alzheimer's their entire career and then get Alzheimer's and be able to articulate the experience with like, be the foremost leading expert on it and then experience it themselves. And that's
our world is so interesting.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Man. The visual stuff especially I think is really fascinating and became even more fascinating after psychedelics.
Mm-hmm.
Like experiencing synesthesia and then reading about it in a book was like so mindfucky. And
yeah,
my god, you can't look at someone just staring out a window the same anymore because you're like, you could be seeing some crazy shit right now.
Yeah, so synesthesia, I think, that's one of the. So it's a common thing in with the psychedelic experience. Synesthesia is what happens. So when you're born, your brain's just like this blob, and everything's like a wash. There's not much differentiating between what is an object, what is a sound. It's all just like blah stimulus. And as the brain learns to be like, this is a shape, this is a sound, this is a parent, this is this is large, this is two of a thing, this is and when you differentiate, this is yellow, this is green, what happens is this process of synaptic pruning, where the brain kind of categorizes all of these different things that we know by killing off different neurons in between these different categories to kind of compartmentalize and be like, here's where our ideas of food are stored. Here's where our ideas of character traits are stored, or whatever. And what happens in humans that have synesthesia, which most people have some sort of synesthesia in one way or another, but extreme examples are the ones that you usually hear about, where someone will like smell words. Someone will say microphone, and when you hear the word microphone, you like smell strawberries, or something like
that's
that.
so fucking nuts. So cool.
What happened is there's this just some of that pruning didn't take place, and so there's just like a bit of crosstalk between those categories. And so during a psychedelic experience, so there's like these kind of famous examples where before people understood what synesthesia was, like there was this conductor that was a really accomplished conductor, and he had synesthesia, and he saw music as color.
Oh,
But
man.
he just assumed everyone else did it the same way. So his orchestra, he'd be like, all right, violins, I need a little more I need a little more orange out of you. And they were like, huh? And they would just like play a thing. And I guess he had like kind of a temper too. And he'd be like, no, orange, that's red. And then they like try a different thing. And he'd be like, sort of. And then it'd be like, and then they try different. He'd be like, yes, now bring it up. And then they would learn to associate like, oh, when he says orange, he means like E flat or whatever. I don't know music. But the idea is there's a lot of different ways our brains can subjectively put together perceptions of the same objective experience, much in the same way a bat has a different kind of vision, or a bee has a different kind of vision than our human eyes do. Different humans have I have, like, when I see the number 11, it's usually yellow-ish to me, at least in my mind's eye. When I think of the word yellow, I think of 11. I usually have to stop myself if I'm going to say either one of those words. I have to like
make sure you're using the right one.
Careful to make sure I'm using the right one, because I have a little crosstalk going on in there. There's the region, there's like a mind map in your brain of like different parts. So a part of our brain controls our hands, part of our brain controls our feet, and these different regions, they aren't represented exactly. It's not like there's like a drawing of our body in there and our hand moves or whatever. There's these different regions in charge of these different parts. And so your hand, because it has all of these, you got to do all this fancy dexterous stuff with it. There's a much larger part of your brain used to for sensing things with your hand, for movement, than say your elbow, which it doesn't. You don't need as much fancy stuff.
Do you follow David Eagleman?
No.
He's an interesting neuroscientist. He had a book called Incognito that I really liked, and his most recent book is called Live Wired. Incognito is awesome. He's like a neuroscience poet. I read his words about our brains, and I'm like, thank you for making this pretty and easy for someone with like a very limited education to grasp.
Yeah.
But in his most recent book, Live Wired, he basically suggests that map of the brain of like, this is dedicated to this. That part of the reason why we dream when we sleep is to keep the visual centers going, so that other areas of the brain don't encroach and take over those resources and reclaim them. Because apparently in cases of like blindness or something, that area gets encroached upon very quickly. It gets reclaimed as new territory for other senses. So he's suggesting that might be why we dream, is just so that we don't wake up with all of the resources dedicated to vision kind of reallocated elsewhere.
Interesting. Yeah. So there's all this plasticity in there and different and there's it explains so much individual differences. So they think so what's interesting too about that body map is it's not organized in the like the feet aren't at the bottom and the head at the top in your mind map. The feet are actually like next to the genitals in your they think that's why people have foot fetish because there's a little bit of like synesthetic crosstalk going
The
on
next person who
there.
asks me to buy feet pics, I'm gonna be like, bro, do you know? Let's talk about why you might feel this
Sounds like
attraction to want to fap to my feet.
sounds like sounds like someone hasn't gotten the proper synaptic pruning. Um, but yeah, and so that's the psychedelic experience is now kind of well known for creating these new connections, which lead to these synesthetic experiences, and yeah, that's why people have these strange hearing voices or seeing sounds and things
I
like
need to
that.
hear
And
more about your DMT trip, man, because you touched on it
sure.
briefly in your documentary. And like the body painting, like you just went in, you were just like, fuck it, full
Well,
send.
well, that was so here for people that are going to watch the documentary. One, if you see the whole, spoiler alert. It's not that much of a spoiler because we start the movie by showing this, but we had this idea of like starting with like a jarring scene that would like make me look really insane, and then actually like walking
Nailed
things
it.
back and seeing that like, oh, this is actually a normal thing to do, right? But and this is like we were setting out to like make fun of the idea of like people think you do psychedelics and go crazy. Come on. And not knowing that I was actually going to lose my mind. And so what happened was in actual chronological order was we had through the movie one of the things that got left at the cutting room floor, though there is like a flash of like Fight Club, um, uh, um, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Subconscious, subliminal. There's like a subliminal clip of this. There was for a while we were making this joke that like comparing the stupid things that you do on other drugs to the psychedelic experience and how none of you wouldn't ever do any of it. So when like I went and got a ketamine treatment, we'd like draw a dick on my face. So I'd like wake up from ketamine and have it. So we had this like as this running joke that I would have like this profound like spiritual experience or like meaningful experience, and I would always end up with like a dick drawn on my face. None of that ended up getting used. It was a fun idea, but we were at this person's house, and I was gonna do ayahuasca with this medicine woman, and we were on mushrooms, and we were she had the stuff Syrian rue. That's this MAOI inhibitor, which MAOI is what breaks down DMT, and so MAOI elongates the DMT experience, and it without DMT, it can just kind of be like a mood enhancer.
Mm.
And and but she had made some that glows in the dark, and we're like, this is hilarious. Let's put like a glow in the dark dick on my face, right? And we filmed this thing. We were just goofing around. Like a lot of times we were just goofing. We didn't really know what we were doing. That we had all these great interviews, but we didn't know the structure of the documentary just yet. This is actually on a weekend that we were like, me, the director, and the producer were all just like, let's eat mushrooms for 2 days and figure out what the structure of this movie is.
Fuck
And
yeah. What a great way to
and
decide on things.
and so within that 2 days, that was like this silly thing that we shot just goofing around. We were tripping and whatnot. And then after I had drawn this glow in the dark dick on my face, I was like, you know what would be interesting is if I just painted my whole body in this shit and then smoked DMT and looked like a fucking lunatic just to get it. And then because what we wanted it to be like was like that scene and the movie opens, someone gets shot, and then it goes
Yep.
6 months earlier, and then it leads up to that, and then you see what actually happened, and then there's a thing afterwards, right? That's the structure. That was the structure that I came up. I mean, I'm on mushrooms. I'm like, I'm trying to make like the
Of course.
Christopher Nolan movie of documentary. and so so then I went and I smoked DMT, ended up having a much more profound experience than I had intended to. It had been a long time since I had it. That was around. So I've had about 100 DMT breakthrough experiences. That one was the last breakthrough that I had, and the last breakthrough before the one that I did was 9 months for the film was 9 months earlier. And it was, I did about 10 times the amount of DMT that it would take to have a breakthrough experience. And it was the scariest thing that I've ever experienced in my life. And so I just I decided, I think I'm taking a break from psychedelics, or DMT for a while. And then the opportunity came up to do this documentary, which it wasn't necessarily going to be about. When I first got approached to do a documentary, I thought that I would make one about evolutionary biology. But it just so happened that I was booked to perform at this psychedelic conference. That was the biggest one, the biggest psychedelic conference that there is. And it was in California. It was a psychedelic science conference in 2017. It was in California, where my director and producer are in LA, and so it was in Oakland. So it was convenient. It was easy to like get to and go and film, and it was the who's who of psychedelic researchers. And this thing was only once every 4 years. And so it was like, well, this is this is such an opportunity that we should just go and shoot this conference, see how it goes. We went there, just shot tons and tons of interviews, got all of the best researchers in psychedelics all in a weekend, had all this incredible footage, and then we're like, okay, looks like we're doing a movie about psychedelics.
That's
And now what
cool.
do we do? And then I was just like, I don't know. I guess I'll just start doing psychedelics and you film me, I guess. And then we just kind of put together ideas and went to see where it went. And it was like, at the time, I was like, well, this is perfect timing because I'm just getting hit with depression. And mushrooms have been like the most reliable way of working through depression. That I've had chronic depression for about 30 years, and psilocybin mushrooms have been the single best tool that I've found for getting through it faster and having better outcomes of it, reframing depression into these kind of breakthrough experiences where I come up with ideas for a next show or whatever, and a big creative boost and inspirational, and I maybe you know, build some new positive habit or something like that. And so I was like, well, great, we can document this. I'll just start to I'm depressed right now. I'll do some mushrooms. We'll show me doing ketamine. We'll see me like snapping out of my depression and like bettering my life as I always have. But then it worked, like my depression went away. And then I thought, why just stop at not being depressed? Like, I wonder if I could just like feel good. And
Oh
so I just
gosh.
kept on eating mushrooms like 3 times a week. Which that might seem crazy, but it's not a bad regiment to do that like 3 times in a week in the midst of a really bad depression. And then that's it. That was my normal. If I was hit hard with not like feeling a little down for a few days, like, uh-oh, this is the big one coming.
Yeah.
This is gonna be like, I'm not gonna be able to do shit for a month or two unless I do mushrooms like 3 times in a week. If it alleviates after the first time,
What
great.
kind of a dose are you taking if you're dealing with depression and you're doing them 3 times in a week?
It depends. I like to do like 5 grams. That's like the standard. That was like the Terrence McKenna heroic dose.
Mm-hmm.
I wish he would have never came up with that name and made it sound like some macho like horseshit. I actually think that you're underselling yourself, not in like some brave sort of way, but I think that it's just easier to. I think that if you don't want to, if you do too many, things can go wrong, certainly. But if you don't do enough, I, I I- I'd say the average person, as like irresponsible as this is to say, I would say the average person when they go to trip, they misunderstand something like say MDMA or something like that. Which MDMA you can definitely do too much. It's a really really stupid thing to do too much of. But they'll go, "Oh, I'll just do half."
Mm.
Whatever everyone else is doing, I'll do half. That's the safe thing to do. Like you're just having one beer or
Yeah.
something like that. But it's not the same because what happens is it leads to you get like this hint of the experience and you just get all of like the anxiety and
Yeah,
the
the
confusion.
come up is less than pleasant.
And you don't get the breakthrough, you don't get the clarity that can come along with
Mm-hmm.
actually tapping into, like, that full state, and I actually think it can set people back. I think it's more responsible for bad trips than mega doses are, for a lot of people. I mean, setting's really important as well,
Mm-hmm.
but, I and they've actually both in the MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies, they tried half doses in their studies and cut them from the studies because they were doing more harm than good. And same thing happened with, I want to say Johns Hopkins, but I have a feeling it wasn't Johns Hopkins, but a very legitimate psilocybin clinical trial for depression.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing where they start with half dose of psilocybin and then they'd do one half dose and then second time they'd give them a full dose and then they cut the half dose and started doing full dose twice
I think that makes
instead.
sense. I feel like on
And
the higher doses, you don't really have a choice but to surrender to it. But on the slightly lower doses, you still have this like ability to not let it all go all the way, to kind of snap things back into place too much. You need shit to go wild.
yeah, and when you can fight it off still too much, there's just, I mean, it's such a unique individual experience. It's hard to, I'm not being prescriptive here. I'm just sharing what my experiences
Mm-hmm.
are and some of what I've noticed other people experiencing. But so I got on this, I was like, what if I just kept going with this regimen? What would happen? And then I started feeling good and I was like, what if I could feel great? And I started, and I was just like, you know what? I am doing great. And then I quit drinking. I quit smoking. I was like getting stuff together. I was like at the same time, there was like external things where the rug had gotten pulled out from under me, like some real crazy, unexpected thing, not quite COVID level stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but like some pretty crazy stuff where I had this really stable touring things, and then like weird shit happened with like Facebook algorithms, and it changed like the way ads worked, and like just weird stuff. And at the same time, like I was getting all of these deals to like host a psychedelic, like Universal Studios asked me to host a storytelling psychedelic show, and like things went from like, oh my god, what the fuck is happening, to all of the sudden everyone was just, this is before Michael Pollan's book came out, and
Oh,
it became
really?
more of a normalized thing.
That's cool.
But I just ran into all of these like huge, like people just slamming doors in my not just like my projects, but other projects people like Universal Studios or Comedy Central or whatever were doing that I was just a part of, or tapped to do. They're like, we can't have content about, illegal substances or whatever, and when and 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 it's about saying positive things about them, because what everyone was after, this was like 2017, what everyone was after was like Breaking Bad stuff and
Mm.
Narcos stuff. You couldn't get enough of that content. What no one wanted was like, hey, you could take this thing and have a better life. that
Yeah.
was that was something that was really taboo still, like, believe it or not, that, and it still is, but it was a big deal. And like, I'd never experienced anything like it in my 16 years. And I pitched shows and stuff before. I like Universal Studios had never experienced it. Comedy Central people I'd worked with on things. I got hired as a guest writer on a show for a week to do some psychedelic stuff, and I had to, I had no horse in the race. This isn't me like complaining about it. Didn't matter to me. One, I got paid the same
Mm-hmm.
regardless, but it was an interesting experience to have to deal with the censors and everything that went into it. So anyhow, all of that happened. I started having anxiety for the first time in my life, and and I had never, and I thought like psychedelics would maybe fix my anxiety in the same way they helped with my depression. But my anxiety ramped things up. I also quit drinking at the same time, which also ramps things up. I'm bipolar, and drinking keeps me like level, keeps me from having a manic episode. And so there was just so many things that went into what happened in me having that aren't shown in the film, just because
Mm-hmm.
we only had 90 minutes and you can only show so much, and you have to tell a story and figure out what the structure is going to be. And so there was a lot more going on than it seemed. And, and also good like the other thing is, like, documentaries, at least my editor there's always, like, needs to be some story arc where we learn some wonderful lesson, and there was, like, way too many, like, heartfelt, like, slow motion walking scenes with, like, voiceover stuff,
I liked
like,
the throwing of the mushrooms in the air. That
yeah,
scene, I was like, oh my god. I can only imagine how I would feel. Like I could see myself doing it, and I would be shaking my head at myself after, like, god damn it. God damn it. But it was so
yeah.
wonderfully cheesy and the frolicking and stuff.
Yeah. And so, there was, it was, and I didn't really have much of a hand in the editing. We shot so much stuff, but I had gone crazy. By the time we were editing things, I thought that I was like deeply paranoid. I thought that I was like possibly like in a simulation, and like the documentary was part of something to like make a fool out of me or something
Oh
like that. And I
man.
and I just like I couldn't watch myself, and I thought like my editor and director had set all this up to like blackmail me or something like I didn't like nonstop paranoid
Was the
delusions, which
DMT the like straw that broke the camel's back then? Like you were
no,
kind of like already heading towards this and then you smoked this DMT?
no,
Okay.
nope. had that experience. That was really interesting, but that, that's DMT for you. And then I was like, I need to see more clearly what's going on. I thought I was like really close to figuring it out. I'm like, oh, I'm just this far away and I'm gonna unlock all of the mysteries of the universe. I was going a bit manic. And so I was already manic, and then I had ayahuasca experience, and I had two full cups of some pretty strong stuff, and I that had the single greatest experience of my life. And then I just didn't weird things happen. I never came down from it. And then just really, really strange synchronicities and stuff started happening. I didn't understand. I thought I was like a part of so- I I thought that I had figured out like how time travel works. It was like things got pretty out there. And so yeah, that's
What
why,
was
but
the
it was
DMT
definitely
experience
ayahuasca.
itself? You
Oh,
said that was like very, very profound.
and then ayahuasca. Ayahuasca launched me into mania, and then like a week later, while I was already manic, I ate mushrooms at a Roger Waters concert, and then it really like that was when things fucking whew, that was a level of mania. I didn't understand what crazy could be until that. I mean, I guess you just don't think it could happen, or I never thought it would happen uh, to me. I had just like hundreds of I've had like at least somewhere between like is it like over 300 mushroom trips in my life, I think. Maybe not that many. And 100 DMT breakthroughs. And I just thought like this is just my thing that works with me. Like I knew alcohol wasn't. Some people jive with alcohol perfectly. And I just thought like I guess I just have like the right head for this. But yeah, the DMT experience, it was you know, it was strange because I broke through and right away this thing was just like, okay, good. You brought the cameras. Now you can like verify what and it was, this is now 3 years ago.
Mhm.
A DMT experience fades away within like 5 minutes of having
Mm.
it. So for me to really articulate what it was, I mean, it's kind of grasping at straws. It was the feeling was so there's a feeling that I've had several times on DMT, which is that there's just like these 4 different parallel universes that are all happening, like that are almost just like this, that are happening at the exact same time. And I don't know why it's 4. There's like way more parallel universes than that, but there's 4 that are like almost exactly like this. And then sometimes they just like cross or something, and you can like end up on another one. And it was showing me some sort of like mechanism of how it works and why that's the case. And it wanted me to like express this thing to people. Fuck if I know. I mean, there I remember the first times I started smoking DMT, and it was just like, yeah, it's just the strangest experience. And I get done and be like, well, that was a weird hallucination. And and people that were more experienced than me would be like, well, we don't think it's a hallucination. We think it's some other like dimension or something like that. And I'm like, well, I get why you feel that way, but I don't get how that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
I I don't get how I don't get how that could be real and this could be real at the same time. This duality. And so I kept smoking DMT to find out.
Of
And
course. What else are you gonna do?
and and I tried smoking more and more to see if I could like see it more clearly or elongate the experience. And I started asking it questions, which I recommend. If you're gonna have a DMT experience, maybe at the first couple times I would just have the experiences, and I don't even recommend DMT. By the way,
You
I
don't?
don't not I don't not recommend it.
But
I mean,
like in terms
what are you
of,
after?
yeah, that's a good point. Like if you're talking to the average person who's looking for maybe like a kind of mystical experience,
Yeah.
some good
Oh, mystical
therapeutic
experience. Oh yeah,
use, all
yeah.
of that.
If you want a mystical experience, yeah, go for it. DMT has that in spades. I had no interest in any mystical or spiritual experience myself. I had I don't see a lot of, for me personally, I don't think that as like a therapeutic tool, I don't think DMT is a great therapeutic tool. I'm not saying that people don't have therapeutic, you know,
But something like psilocybin or
positive therapy.
ketamine or MDMA makes a lot
Yeah,
more sense
or
for that.
ayahuasca or whatever. Yeah.
Did you poop your pants on ayahuasca?
No.
Okay. I've heard so many stories of people it goes both ways. Just you're puking and you're pooping and that's the thing that has made me say like I probably won't ever do ayahuasca. I just don't want to poop my pants.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's more important considerations than
Maybe
a little poop in
maybe
your
I'm very
pants.
shallow cuz I don't want to poop my pants.
No, I was the same way, but after you like I've had the on the so I've done ayahuasca only 3 times. And the first 2 times I thought it was incredibly mild
Mm.
and I was like, what is this? Like just like making myself nauseous for basically a mushroom trip and like that's why on the third time I like really went for it because
Oh.
I wanted to see like uh, I was getting ready to, so the way it's shown in the film is like I'm driving to do this
Clandestine.
this like clandestine experience. That's not what was happening. We shot that afterwards just to like
Oh.
make things work with the story. What actually happened was I went to go do ayahuasca to get ready to go and to do ayahuasca on film. We were absolutely going to
Oh.
film the experience. I wanted to do one first to figure out what would be the appropriate dose for me to and to feel like what aspects of the experience would be the most important to film and which ones would get like in my head too much if a camera was there
Mm.
and so on. And um and so uh I yeah, and then but that's the one that put me over, so we never got to film it, and so then we just, like, filmed that little scene as a cheat,
Mm.
just so we could keep the story moving. Um, but, yeah. Oh, yeah, but that time, I had the purge. I had always heard people talk about, like, how good this purge feels and everything, and I was like, "What a bunch of crap," like, uh, "Great, we just love throwing up now, is that what," but I had, I actually remember distinctly, um, there was I was it was like a mix between DMT and mushrooms. This is on ayahuasca. This
Mhm.
is my last big experience. And I'm talking with this thing that is like that like created this reality, but it itself is also simulated or something. And it was showing me that we like all have these different addictions. It was that it had created all of these different worlds. And it was creating so many that it couldn't keep up with and it couldn't attend to the energy needed to like keep these different like universes working and attend to all of them, and it was getting burnt out, and it was somehow like it was running parallel. It was like a metaphor for my own life and burning myself out in my own addictive tendencies, like my relationship with, say, video games, for example, or alcohol. And then it was also related to the human condition, and like poverty, and like meth use and hardcore drug addiction. And it was like all it was like all of these parallels. It was like we were all experiencing this just embodiment of suffer. It was like me and this other thing, this simulator or God or whatever, were experiencing this thing at the exact same time, just this embodiment of all of suffering in the universe. And it was just like the most painful, horrific, but it was like beautiful in a way. It was like so like unbelievably horrific that it was like all you could do was laugh. And right then, like, I just knew I had to purge, and it was like it really was just like purging all of like the embodiment of suffering, and every everything that is wrong in the universe just like shot out my mouth into a bucket. And it was just the most beautiful, amazing feeling I could ever imagine. I don't know if it would feel that way if you shit your pants, though.
That's a great question. Would you feel like you're shitting out all of society's woes?
All of the suffering. I mean, I've had a few times in the bathroom where I felt like maybe I was shitting out all of.
Oh man.
I've certainly I've shit out a bad day before. At least.
I was
But
tripping with some of my brothers once, and one of my brothers we were going for a walk. We were on mushrooms, and we were going for a walk at night, and we're walking down this like big hill with these trees overhanging it, and like it's a beautiful night. It's relatively cool, and the moon is out, and it's just like fucking gorgeous. And I'm looking at the tops of the trees, and I'm like, these are the most beautiful things ever. The trees look like lace, and they looked like they were trying to grab each other. And then one of my brothers starts kind of like tweaking a little bit. He starts getting really nervous, and I'm like helping to calm him down, get him accustomed to everything that's kind of kicking in. And then he's like, I think I need to puke. And I was like, just puke, man. Like, you're still gonna be tripping. Let it out if you feel like you gotta puke. And he puked on the road, and like it looked like he was like crawling along the road trying to like get all of this vomit out of him. And as soon as he was done, he was just laying there laughing. And all of us are standing around this big puddle of puke, smiling at it because it looked like it was like glowing in the dark. It was the most beautiful vomit I've ever seen. But like anytime I think about that, I think about that puke, and I'm just like, God, it was magical. I wonder how that felt to get that out.
yeah, I mean, there's some sort of a thing too with I mean, there is some drug that's released when you I think
Really?
it's part of why there's eating disorders. I think
Oh,
there's like some sort of an endorphin thing or something. There's some reward mechanism that happen. I mean, I
that's
don't know
so
much about
sad and
this.
so interesting.
I know. I mean, I've as someone who's had pretty bad binge drinking issues, uh I mean, I can certainly relate to a
Mm-hmm.
to a good relieving vomit.
Yeah.
About,
Interesting. Well,
yeah.
look, we're at the like 2 hour mark. So I don't want you to turn into dust. I know that it's 1,000,000 o'clock over there. So do you want to keep going, or do you want to try to wrap things up? Maybe take some more questions from chat?
Yeah. What do you think about like 15 minutes or so.
That works
Would
for
that
me.
be okay?
Yeah.
Is
So
that a
while
reasonable
we're
compromise? This beard needs to get its little nightcap on, and it's getting sleepy. And this beard has so many dreams to dream.
Oh, that beautiful beard. It deserves to dream all those dreams. And I've seen you almost like pretty successfully stifle several yawns so far tonight, which like, bro, that's hard to do. Congratulations. Friends in chat, if any of you have any questions for Shane while he's here hanging with us, please ask questions. Continue to introduce him to Twitch and get him a little more accustomed to the shenanigans here. It's interesting, right? The dynamic of like just talking about some shit and then looking over and being like, "Oh, people, what do you have to say?"
I mean, I definitely like. By the way, if you just, whoops, can you send people to my website too, so they can check out my show tomorrow night?
100%.
At it's roughly the same time, from 8:30 Central Time until about 10 p.m. and we'll be talking all about the research of modern media use and making some fun jokes. But you can also go to Shane Mauss, MAUSS.com.
I'm dropping all your links.
Shroom's getting stronger with age. I mean, that doesn't surprise. I don't think that there's any kind of linear tolerance. I feel like there's a tolerance when you do them like regularly. You build a tolerance. Other people actually disagree with that, but for me personally, I felt like there's a tolerance. But I think that in terms of age, I think that they become easier. I think psychedelics become more mild the older that I get, because I don't know if it's just because I have more experience under my belt, but I think it's just getting used to mindfulness. And I think that in having more experience in life, having more impulse control, things like that lead to just a more the ability to kind of surrender and go with the experience. I could see if you've never had an experience, then you do it for your first time at 60 or something, and it's like really jarring because all of this, you've gone 60 years of your life and never had anything like this. But I actually think one of the big reasons why people shy away from the psychedelic experience is because they have their first experience when they're in college.
With like
And
improper set and setting.
usually, but even if you have the right ish set and setting, but are just like around your friends or whatever and doing it, I mean, those are, psychedelics are often considered non-specific amplifiers, so they'll kind of amplify whatever is going, rather than alcohol, which is like, okay, it's going to be this linear kind of lack of inhibition that's going to take over, or Adderall, where there's this linear, like, it's going to wake me up for this amount of time. These non-specific amplifiers, you don't know if you're going to get exceptionally sad or exceptionally like happy or silly, or want to dance or want to cry,
or all of that in 5 hours.
all of that, and it's what do you got going on in there, and you don't know because you don't have access to the contents of that. I guess it'd be like, the closest I can compare it to is kind of shower thoughts on steroids, really. And so when you're in college, that's the most confused you'll ever be in your life. You just left your parents' home. You are trying to figure out who you are, what you're going to be, what your career is, are you going to marry? Are you going to even be able to get a mate? When are you going to lose your virginity, or when are you going to stop banging so many people, or are you going to have kids, and what is a 401k, and there's just, and it's no surprise to me that when you're in your most confused time of your life, you would also have the most confusing psychedelic experience
Yeah.
too, because you're a confused person, and they can hold up a mirror to you in a lot of ways, and especially when you don't know that going into it, and you just think it's just like you know
Fun.
you're yeah just gonna be this fun thing, and you don't know you're about to get this intense therapy session. I I think that that's overwhelming for a lot of people. I think that as an adult, they only get easier.
Yeah. And I think I was reading something that was suggesting that it's not necessarily better, but it's almost like people who are older and have more deeply established patterns can benefit more from something like psychedelics because it helps them to see those patterns and break them with greater ease than they might have been able to, especially in an older age. Oh, and did you see
Yeah.
the question Grave Dog was asking? Do you have plans of going back into heavy psychedelics?
Well, yes, but I don't know when. I've been itching to try DMT again. There's a few research chemicals that are lesser known. I'm in some interesting groups of people, and there's some odd, there's just a lot of stuff out there that the average person hasn't heard about yet, and that I haven't done but am looking forward to. And so there's lots of experimentation left for me to do. I sort of am interested in doing ibogaine
Mm.
only because it's like the most intense thing a person can go through, it sounds like. But it's so unnecessarily risky, but that's kind of like the story of my life anyway, so what's one more? Um, and I think that, I'm like I said, I'm in Wisconsin. I am really impacted by seasonal depression, which is why I try to plan my tours so that I'm in the South for all of winter. And I think that mushrooms would be a good defense for that for me. So I'll probably be dabbling back into mushrooms sometime soon. Probably trying to do some microdosing, which I've never had success with in the past. I'm a mega doser
Mm.
person. Um, I just don't I just don't believe in microdosing that much. But I think that my past experiences aren't necessarily a reflection of the future, and I probably didn't do it correctly in the past, so I'm
Yeah,
going to
because we were talking
try
about
it.
the different like protocols available, like going like Paul Stamets style, because that
Yeah.
helped me a lot. I
Yeah.
can't even tell you how fucking weird it was to watch, like, because I used to be very depressed, very anxious, very angry, like really struggled, and then mindfulness and meditation and psychedelics and like everything kind of changed after that. So like
Mhm.
I've gotten to a point now where I'm pretty balanced compared to who I used to be, especially. And
Mhm.
when I started noticing the crazy hormone changes after changing birth control and stuff, like it really fucked me up. I was really bothered by that because I'm like, no, I have my shit together. I'm balanced now. I don't get upset over stupid stuff. I don't cry over stupid stuff. So I started my microdosing where like basically as my little tracker thing tells me that I'm going to be experiencing PMS in my period soon, I start my
Mhm.
microdosing, and oh my god, it is such a different experience to deal with the potential for the highs and lows with that extra like connectivity, you know? So
Mm.
I don't kick my own ass as much. I don't stay in bed as much. Like it's so crazy, man. People make PMS out to be like this thing that just hits for like a little while and then you're done. But so many people I know have like 2 weeks
Yeah.
out of every month that they're just fucked, like just exhausted, feel like shit, tired and cranky. And microdosing has helped so much.
Yeah, it's a crime that these things aren't at least widely researched. But I'm an advocate first and foremost for psychedelic research in the rescheduling of psychedelics. I would advocate for them to go from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 2, just to make it easy for them to study and run these trials. I'm also believe in cognitive liberties and blah blah blah, but we live in a real world, and that's not going to happen, I don't think, anytime soon. And so even to be able to do some trials with psilocybin for PMS would be, I mean, that could be absolutely life changing for so many people. But yeah, I'm glad that mushrooms cured crying for you. No more crying.
It's a little different. It's more like, instead of me starting to cry over something stupid, like I'll see a TV commercial of like a parent hugging their kid after they did laundry together, and I just would start weeping, like real weeping. Just they love each other. And now, like, when I'm microdosing, I can see that, and I get like the little tears in my eyes, and I'm like, I gotta look away from that. I'm not ready. I like my makeup today. Fuck that shit. And I just like turn. So it gives me that little bit of distance.
That's funny. It's because I do mushrooms so that I will cry. I really don't like to think of myself as like a cliche dude. I would love to think of myself as someone who's like very comfortable with themselves and their feelings and whatnot. And man, I always find myself like trying to cry. Like, God, it's been so long. I could use a good cry. It's such a dude like trying to force himself. It's such a pathetic feeling when you're like almost there, and you're like, it's like jerking off with a Coke dick or something. That's what trying to cry feels like. Just trying to force a tear out because I know how good it will be.
Yes.
When I do, and man, that's the shit. So that's amazing. If psilocybin could help women cry less uncontrollably and guys cry more when they need to,
yes,
everybody wins.
Yes. And like, I've cried out some serious shit. There was a lot of traumatic shit that happened in my life, and like mourning the loss of like my sister and my dad and my grandmother and all of these different people. Like, re-mourning those through psychedelics has given me so much peace. Like, I've experienced a lot of death in my life, and it was crazy how like kind of normal it felt like to me until exploring it more through psychedelics and through this community, talking about it more and being like, oh shit, that's, I guess, not as many people have, and I know a lot of you have friends, but not as many people seem to have had this close encounter. So like with like people who were going through cancer treatments and stuff, and people who knew that they're like people who I was close with who knew that their family members were dying. Like my ex's mom, we were really close, and she died from cancer, and like I was there holding her hand when she passed. Like I've been there for multiple deaths, and it feels very normal and natural, and especially now because of psychedelics, it feels even more normal and natural. I've had some wonderful moments of mourning. And one of the times I was like trying to call my sister back to me in like my visuals I was having. And then I was just like, no, let her not exist anymore. Like I don't have to like create this person and try to force her into some structure. Like, she's being the universe now. I don't need to make her a person again. And then I just let her go, and I felt great.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that fortunately is one of the, I believe there is some PMS research going on with psilocybin, but I know that there's end of life stuff happening, and that's, that's insane to me that it wouldn't, someone's on their way out anyway. They want to do this thing, like, what are you worried about here?
That is such a fucking question, man. My God.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't want to keep you forever because I'll talk to you about psychedelics and shenanigans forever.
Another time, perhaps.
Yes, I would love that. I would love to talk more, especially because I just in general want to pick your brain about science and talk about ridiculous shit.
Sure, anytime. I'm sorry I don't mean to be rudely yawning. I am legitimately just, this is the latest I've stayed up in a little while.
It's okay. It's okay. I don't get mad at people for involuntary things, so, you know, it would be a little silly. Motherfucker yawned on my show. Doesn't he know I'm a big deal? Not a big deal. But I'm really glad that you were able to join for real.
To me. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Feel free to promote anything else that you want to like take a minute to talk about any of your stuff again in case anyone just kind of popped in.
Yeah, well, my podcast, here we are. I have a different scientist each week. It's started the core. We talk quite a bit about evolutionary psychology and biology, but things like behavioral economics, well-being, just cognitive biases are some of my favorite topics, animal behavior. And then I have a documentary called Psychonauts, a comics exploration of psychedelics. I'm pretty new to Instagram and I enjoy Instagram. If you want to follow me at Shane_Mauss on there, I have a lot of highlights from my podcast and sometimes, depending on my mood, put silly stuff up as well. And my new YouTube channel that I'm trying to get off the ground, that would be amazing if you checked that out. Oh, speaking of DMT, just the episode before last was a really long, big DMT episode with neuroscientist Andrew Gallimore. And it's one of the better. I don't talk about psychedelics very often on my podcast. I try to kind of keep that world separate usually. And so, it's one of the few rare episodes about psychedelics, and it's one of the better episodes that I've done. It's really terrific. So if people want to hear more about DMT and my thoughts on it, I'm gotten a ton of feedback so far. I'm pretty sure your minds will absolutely be blown.
Get your minds blown, friends. Yeah,
Get
thanks.
those minds blown.
Thanks again, Shane. Like I really enjoyed just getting to talk to you the other day. Whatever Sunday that was, we were chatting. It happened to be like a rare day off for me too.
Oh, you caught me at a good time because it was. I don't normally respond to like DMs and stuff, but Trump got the cove, and I was just in a solid mood. I was just in a real good mood. That's when it was, by the way.
Because I reached out to you about the Proud Boys thing, how it was trending because the wonderful gays had taken back the Proud Boys thing.
Yeah. We started. I was just like, I almost never respond to I've had some bad experience, like Instagram, especially. I've had times where like, okay, I'll respond to someone, and then they have like 20 questions, and then they're so angry if I don't get back to them, and Jesus, well, it serves me right for trying to be nice and respond, I guess. And so I just, as a rule, don't usually.
I don't blame you.
But I was just in such a wonderful mood, so I'm so happy that this worked. It was just great timing. all around that you happen to be. I don't even have Twitter on my phone or anything like that. I just happen to be in front of the computer. So anyway, yes, lovely to meet you, and thanks for showing me how Twitch works.
Totally. I hope to see you on here at some point because we'll do what we can to help you get your stuff started if you do decide to do that.
Yep, show tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Be nice to yourselves, and please always remember to wash your butts.
So on my deathbed, I'm feeling